different than the affiliated business arrangement disclosure form. So the affiliated business arrangement disclosure form that is required on every single transaction, every buy-side transaction, that simply says that, and y'all do have the two forms still, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
We've always had two required forms. One is like if we don't use it, we're violating federal law and we're in trouble. The second one is not new. This just replaces another form. The other form that we got feedback that it was like you have to be a lawyer to understand it.
Right.
And so we rewrote it in plain English to help agents and customers understand what the heck title insurance is.
Is this the one loading up in DocuSign automatically?
Yeah, it should be.
So that first, the affiliated business arrangement, like Glad was saying, it is required. If you do not get it filled out compliant things, it may cost you a lot of money. So please always get that filled out. And I don't think we've had any issues with that. And that form just says, hey, my market center has a relationship with Heritage. It does not select anything. It's just notifying your buyers of that relationship. This is the title insurance selection form, and like Glad said, he kind of revamped it so that it would be a little more self-explanatory. We never expect you as the client or as the agent to know everything about title insurance. That's not your job, that's my job. I just want you to know enough that you're able to bring it up to your clients, give them a little bit of information so that they know what they're filling out and what they're buying. That's all the information you need to know. We don't need you to go into the weeds with title insurance with them. So that's why we've created this form and why it's created in the way that it is and laid out. So, yep. To the top half of the form, it just answers many frequently asked questions about title insurance, about Heritage, and the different policy types. So this is a super simple way to go into this with your buyer, and you have the information in front of you. So I think for me, the best way to explain it is I have this form in front of me when I'm explaining it to my buyers, and I can go through each little blurb, and I'm able to answer the questions that they may have. Now, if they have questions that are off of this paper, that's why you have me and Carla as a resource for any questions like that. So the questions that it answers, what is title insurance and is it required? Title insurance is a one-time fee. It's paid at closing. That's our number one question is how much does it cost and how often do I have to pay it? One time paid at closing. It lasts for the duration of your buyers owning the property. While the owner's policy is optional, we do highly, highly, highly recommend it because it does protect their investment. If they don't get the owner's policy, then it's not protecting it. The lender, will require the lender's policy. The second question goes, how much does it cost, and is there a way to reduce the cost? So the premiums in North Carolina for title insurance are set by the state. They are the same across the board, unless we have what is called a prior policy. So if we have that prior policy and we're able to tack on, we're able to save your buyers money. That is why it's so important to include Heritage in your email to your closing attorney from the very first time you send your contract, or have your TC do it if you have a TC, because we're able to pull a prior policy and save your buyers money.
So what you should understand is you've ratified the contract, you're going to send a copy of that to all parties. The parties should include Heritage. They're going to see, have they already written that, and they're going to let you know, which is going to be an immediate savings for your client. They then can still choose to not elect to use Heritage, but you've saved a ton of time, number one, for the attorney and money for your client. So just make it a part of the checklist to CC Heritage Title when you send it out.
Absolutely. And if it's a part of if you just get it in your routine, then it's going to become second nature. You're not going to think about it. You're just going to automatically put us on the email. The next word talks about who Heritage is. Our underwriter is Investors Title, and we are the in-house strategic business partner for KW Innovate. And then the next part of the form talks about just filling out the form. So the two sections here, the first one is where they choose. I want to use Heritage, or I do not want to use Heritage. Your buyers have to fill that out. Do they want to work with Heritage or not? And then the second portion is, do they want the enhanced title policy, which is an upgrade version of the standard policy, or do they not want the enhanced? They want to give the standard. What we are doing at Heritage is we are recommending for the attorney to default to the enhanced. So that's our, current mission, our current goal with the attorneys that you guys work with is to get them all to default to the enhanced because it offers 40 coverages versus the standard 13. So you may see that they're starting to default, and if your buyers say, hey, I don't want it, their buyers are gonna have to sign a form stating that they don't want it.
Rachel,
I'm just gonna give this out. I've actually asked all of my clients if they want it in hand. I've only had one client say they didn't, cause I explained what it is. And I turned around and was like, you can put that on my, take that out of my commission. It will save you and you will be thankful when the day comes that you need that enhanced policy, cause it will happen sooner or later.
Correct, absolutely, thank you for sharing that, because that's it's not that much. It has survey, coverage, it has fraud and forgery coverage, which I think is super good selling point for it, and, it has some access easement, coverage as well, so,
so understand right now with everything that's going on, we've had a few transactions that have like closed at the closing table, made it through the attorneys, made it through all the realtors, made it through all the customers. Everybody thought there was an exchange of property when there was none. It was total fraud. And if they don't have the enhanced policy on that, it's a real mess to untangle. And we've had people in this room experience it. We've had people in other brokerages experiencing it. This is a real like real world problems that we're dealing with now. The commission's trying to figure out who to even hold responsible for this. Should it be you as the real estate agent? Who should be the responsible party? And so you have a layer of protection that's 20% more. It is all it is, and it gets baked into those closing costs.
And what's that 20% based on? What, like, where are you getting the amount of 20%?
It's on the other form, but it's a standard.
But is it on the title cost plus 20%?
so if you were to,
The purchase price, right?
it's based on the purchase price, so if you were to pay was $100 for the standard, it would be up to 20% more. However, if we have the prior policy, it's pretty much a wash once you're saving about 20% or more.
If the title policy was $500 and the title insurance portion was that, it would be an additional $100 on
Okay.
the
So
policy.
it's on the actual title policy.
When we rewrote the form, if you go back to that bottom part, it was important enough that we basically, it says on there that.
Right here, right?
Keller Williams recommends all clients choose enhanced policy. The reason is if you have a fraud case and your client doesn't choose that, they're gonna wonder what the title insurance company says, hey, so sorry, we don't cover that. And then they're gonna go, my agent didn't recommend it, we're gonna go, actually we did. I would not, and I know this happens with forms, not any brokerages. No, we're like, check this box, like, no, you don't want this. I would not do that for your client, because if you tell your clients not to do it, they're gonna come back and go, this form says it, but the agent sent it to me with a box check saying, I don't want it. That's not your call to make. In almost every other state, attorneys and title companies they own the title company and they're incentivized and they're actually selling this because it makes sense. We're in a weird thing where the attorneys provide the title insurance, but they don't really sell it because they're not involved in it, they just provide it. And to be honest with you, the attorneys are way behind in North Carolina. They don't understand how big of a deal this is. All other states, probably the vast majority of people are using enhanced policies.
And have been.
For years, it's been out since 2021.
So I would recommend, if you have not, they run live stream trainings, they're available for a one-on-one, they're available to meet with a coaching collective. You guys really need to lean on the partners of Carla and Mary Lauren, because they are the experts in title. Lad in his previous life did this, he is still an attorney, he understands it at a high level. If you're not getting your arms around it, it is okay to ask questions and get help, and make sure you thoroughly do. Like she said, they're not expecting you to sell title, they're not expecting you to be the expert at title, but you do want to communicate it clear and concisely so that people understand you didn't tell them to opt out. They have decisions to be made. So this is their contact information. They're easy to get a hold of. She's a member of Rock and Red. You can search members, find her, and schedule a time to talk to her too. So thank you for being here. You're awesome. All right. All right. Hello.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
Quick question. Who's the one that determines whether or not you need flood insurance?
You.
Good work. No, actually both answers are right. It's actually the lender that determines whether or not, whomever has insurable interest. So if I'm gonna give you money on your house so you go buy that house, then I'm the one that says, that's my house, really, until you paid it off. And thus, I'm gonna tell you, you need flood insurance. Now, there are multiple flood, zones. Can somebody give me an example of like one address that's not in a flood zone here in Wilmington? Just give me one address that's not.
They're not.
Oh, don't.
No, I'm not gonna let them get hurt.
Lad, there is no such thing as a place that is not in a flood zone. Lad. So flood zone Z. You can go to the next slide briefly. We've got A, D, E, A, E, D, E, and then we've got some wonderful things called CERA, which is Coastal Barrier Reef Area here in our wonderful state of area region of Wilmington. These are going to indicate anything above anything above an A is going to be required. An X, good God, anything above an X is going to be required by a lender, typically speaking, to have flood insurance. Now that being said, more than like, I don't know, some 10,000 homes during Florence were flooded that did not have flood insurance, were not required by their lenders to carry flood insurance. So if you want to be a true fiduciary and if you want to understand, like be able to relate with your potential home buyer, talk about these things. And
Why this is really important because we have new agents in the room and I love that they're here because they're gonna be ahead of some of the veteran agents that don't come. You should never tell anybody that this house is not in the flood zone, ever. Even if in the listing agreement and on the listing papers and the paperwork, it says, no flood zone. And that is meaning it's not one of these, and you never want to advise somebody that this house cannot flood. He just said it. Florence had 10,000 homes that were not in a mandatory insurance rating, and yet 10 inches of rain in an hour can flood a house. And so we never want to say that. It's a huge, huge liability that you place on yourself.
Absolutely.
So keep going.
Absolutely. Well, I also want to disclose this. So if water comes from the sewage, let's say your shower backs up or it comes out of the toilet because there is water outside, that is not flood. That is not flood. If water is blown because there's a puddle in your front yard and that water is blown under the door sill and it damages your hardwood floors. Also not flood. That's wind-driven rain. The water must come up and then seep into your home or structure in order to be considered flood. So these are distinct distinctions and your adjuster can come and pick that apart. So really need to take a close look at the insurance policy to make certain that wind-driven rain is included, that flood is included, that water backup is included. These are types of things that need to be the conversation that should be had in the beginning. And here we are. If you're curious about whether or not this property is in a flood zone other than X, then simply scan this guy right here and bookmark that page. You plug in the address, and not only are you going to see a nice visual, you're going to see where the closest flood zone is. Extremely helpful. If your house your property, I should say, is not in a flood zone above an X, but the next door neighbor's is, guess what? Flood zones are constantly changing. The reason being is because our water table is rising. And so just because today or the last time they surveyed that area for flood zones, you weren't in an X or above, you may be in the coming years. So go ahead and get that insurance up front. And again, these are conversations that we love having. I just wanted to equip you with a little bit of crash course.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Again, you guys got partners in Horizon to see them with any questions. All right, this is, if you haven't seen it, we were at last look because they took the rankings down. We were sitting in second place for the Wilmington's Best. And when we say Wilmington, this is the name of the magazine. KW Innovate has been entered as one of the firms, and this as the best real estate company. And even though we know it, we need the public to know it. And so we need you to scan this and vote. You don't have to complete it all now, but if you haven't done it, please, please, please scan it and then leave your browser open and the link will remain there and you can do it when you come back. It is in rock and red. We have until March 15th is when the polls close, but they've taken down the rankings. And so this is our opportunity now to leap into first place. But thank you for all of you who have already voted. We appreciate that. For those of you that will, thank you. All right, so we're going to head into some family reunion ahas. Who went to Atlanta with us? Awesome. Yes. So energy was amazing. it was, to me, ironically, my first family reunion was in Atlanta in 2008. And then here we were again, this number of years later, 18 years later, and back in ATL. And it was a unique family reunion because they started it out with this full day of social con. And if that doesn't tell you where real estate is going in the future, I don't know what is, because they spent, I've heard numbers of 300,000 for Gary Vee's 1 hour keynote. So like the investment that KWRI made for the day on our behalf was just incredible. We did live stream that. I don't know who all made it, but if you weren't there, these were the top 10 that we got from this. So number one, no more excuses. The tools are accessible. Platforms are free. The opportunity is massive, and AI has removed any of the barriers to content creation. The only remaining variable is whether you choose to stop doing social media and start doing social media on purpose. So number two was time plus exposure equals perceived connection. People need to see your face, hear your voice, learn your tone online. Do this consistently because attention becomes familiarity, which turns into connection and ultimately leads to trust before you ever meet in person. And your calendar needs to match your goals. You live in service of your calendar to execute what you need to do. You cannot live on just your ambition alone, guys. A lot of you are very ambitious. It's your natural behavior will let you down over time. If you don't time block this and start doing it with intentionality, you're not going to see the ROI to it. This matters that much. Be the guide, not the hero. Your client is the hero of the story, not you. Lead with the problem you solved and position yourself as a guide that helped them succeed. Whether their problem matches your solution, the story is complete. 5, human energy wins in an AI world. AI is a powerful tool, but only if you use it. AI can help you write, edit, brainstorm, but it can't replace your presence. So show up with passion and without fear. Gary Vee said it. He's like, we're in this 4-year, what he thinks is probably a 4-year window where we can be in these platforms at basically no cost. And what's going to start happening is there's going to start to become a cost and on the other end of this at some point. So this is your time to be out there and dumping as many as you can for free. He said he doesn't know who the guy was that had just bought the 300 horses before Ford created the first car, but those horses are no longer being used, right? We don't know when that day is going to come. There's no crystal ball for that. But if you don't start getting serious about it now, the writing's on the wall. You've got to do content. You have 1.7 seconds to earn somebody's attention. So that's your time to start try to stop the scroll, right? So if you don't earn it immediately, you lose it. Tools look like Canva, CapCut, and AI. Their productivity is easier and more interesting, but clarity and creativity are still your job. Number 7, your message must be simple and clear. Money is printed every day, but attention isn't. Address the audience as you, not gang or friends. Make this about them. Stay away from the real estate jargon. So who are you talking to? Who are you addressing is what they were saying on this one. And just be sure that you're really clear. The other thing you can stop doing, and I still do it, and I'm working on this, is, hey, this is Manda Price. They know it's Manda Price because it's Manda Price's post. My name is right there. And you're wasting seconds when you do that because it just told you have 1.7 seconds. So go right into the message and find something that's a hook that you can keep them right there. And I'm working on that too because I do that. Make your post selfless. Use social media to elevate local businesses, answer real questions, and document how you serve people. If it's about you, it can't be about them at the same time. So how are you spotlighting the places that you live, the lifestyle of Wilmington, the businesses that we serve, the partners that you have, the vendors that are a part of your business? Get out there and do that. Number 9, make measure conversations, not likes. Engagement metrics have changed, but impact hasn't. Today, people consume content like they consume TV. They often don't like or share, but that doesn't mean they're not watching. Measure inbound messages, appointments, and real conversations. I'm a really good example of this. Because the algorithm has figured out that I have a golden retriever, my feed is full of retrievers. And I just sit when I have any mindless moments and I'm like, boop, 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 and I don't click into, I don't even know who's creating these posts, but it's got my attention long enough that I've stayed on the feed. When I see something that's gonna cause me to go in and see who created that, then that's the real conversation. But I'm not feeding any of those people with my likes or my engagement until then. But people are watching, so you've got to create content that's going to keep them there. And then number 10, never waste a season of pain. Don't miss today's opportunity because you're romanticizing about the past or you're fearful of tomorrow. Every minute spent complaining is a minute not creating. And I'm saying it much nicer than Gary Vee said it. Too bad. So if you were there, at family reunion before we headed to vision speech ahas, I'd love to hear what was a breakout aha or something that you have immediately come back and taken action on, or maybe stop doing, start doing, or what was a takeaway for you? All at once.
Okay, it's just simple, but it just really struck me hard. And then you alluded to it like 3 of those statements. When communicating with clients, like after or during the transaction, don't say things like, oh, I really enjoyed it today. You were a joy to work with, and you made my experience amazing.
Yeah.
It's about them and making them a hero.
That's awesome. I love that. Who else? Charity.
It's interest media, no longer social media.
Yeah.
She kind of talked about, but it's more focused on activities and things that you have in common with other people, not that you're going to see your friends and family and what they're doing.
Yeah, this is really important. He said it's really not social media anymore, it's interest media. And he told a funny story about white asparagus. And somebody was making white asparagus, and next thing you know, this whole thing goes viral because people didn't know that the white asparagus was a thing. And like that got somebody's interest, and that's what took it nuts. And so you're going to, how can you grab their attention? What were you gonna say?
AI.
AI.
He kept talking about AI. If you're not doing AI, if you're not falling into AI, if you're not engaging in AI right now, you're falling behind.
Yeah, the PH platforms and handles. And he said, if you're not, you need to be on 8 platforms with multiple handles. So for example, me, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and I do have a Snapchat account, mostly to talk to my kids. And, but that's it. I have a YouTube, but I don't even know what the name of my YouTube channel is because it's just connected to my email. And that's where the handles come in. How on purpose are you being about naming your handles? And you can have multiple handles. So you might want to be the Wilmington mom, and then Wilmington realtor, and then Manda Price. Like, so you can do a lot with these handles and then have multiple handles on different platforms too. What was funny is he's like, who posted today? We're all like, we did. And he's like, yeah, well, I posted 342 times across all of my handles and my platforms. Now, this wasn't him as a keyboard warrior behind the screen, right? He's got leverage in his life and he's using automation in a big way, but it just shows to show you we're not playing big enough right now. Lynn?
I love to when you post certain things, just because they're your friends in your Facebook or whatever algorithm you're using. It's okay to say, you're not my audience for this post.
Yeah.
Have power in, you're not trying to just reach your friends, you're reaching the masses. And sometimes your post isn't for your friends. You're not my audience, and be okay saying it.
Yep.
Make
I think
your
the point of that was is that they're not the audience anymore.
They're not.
Because realtors
They're
and
not.
shorts can change,
Yeah.
right? That's what he said. You could post a video and 10,000 people can see that video. You're not friends with all 10,000 of those people. Like the reach we have now is way different than the algorithm works.
Well, he was funny. He's like, if you've been following me, he's the most influential person in social media from a following standpoint. And he's like, I'm the one that should be mad about this, by the way. He goes, because the game has changed. It used to be you had to follow me in order to be able to automatically for me to appear in the newsfeed. That's not the case anymore. The algorithms have changed that. So you're not chasing as many followers and likes as you once were. You're actually chasing the idea of content that is going to create conversations. And that's the big deal. And we're going to have some solutions for that. Shannon has a good one that I think you should share. feel like you do, but speak loudly.
Okay, so the team knows I am not a big social media fan. Like, I don't like the videos. I don't like, I'm just, it makes me so nervous. The whole thing, the whole idea of social media. And what he basically said, and this was like, it was directed straight at me, was like, look, you can say all day long that you hate social media. You can say all day long that you think it is the scourge of this earth, that it is going to destroy humanity. All of this. And he's like, you still have to get into the game or you're gonna get left behind. So like you have to put that aside and say, okay, so how do I make it okay to use this for myself and just like let go of those feelings and just use it. And I think the biggest thing was that, and I think you all mentioned that it doesn't have to be so personal.
Well, I think he gave you permission that it didn't need to be about family. He doesn't post about his wife. He doesn't post about his kids. And you're like, oh, you almost felt like you got permission finally, that it didn't have to be so personal.
Like you can still be authentic and not have to give up all of these private personal details about yourself.
Okay.
You can still be authentic, you can still be you, just pick the things you want to focus on.
Yep. Love it. Nancy?
We learned that in responding to any Google reviews, that you need to be extremely specific. Thank you, buyer, for buying in Hampstead your cozy home on a golf course, blah, 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 and you put all those specifics in, which will change the algorithm for your
Help in the SEO.
Yep.
So keywords when you're responding. Lad?
So I get like the
Okay, she next, Jack.
what's that?
I saw Jack after I saw you. Go ahead.
The big picture is like, Gary says he had like 300 posts a day, and that's cool, but he has a international media company. He's the largest social media, like banner or whatever the name of the company is. They represent Procter and Gamble, Coca-Cola, and all this stuff. So it's like we talked with Tony and Sean in the studio, and we told them the 300 posts a day. And Tony's like, "Look, I get that." But he's like, "If you say that to people, they're just going to shut down because none of us are going to post 300 posts a day right now." So we don't understand that it needs to be more on more channels, but and I'm talking to myself. You're like, gotta go back and just start posting on one, and then maybe figure it out on two, and then maybe I add another handle. But they said, and they were very clear, if you plan to be in this business more than 10 years, if you don't do this, you may not be able to be in the business in 10 years. Because right now, and he said, also stand up if you've been in the business for more than 10 to 15 years and you plan to be in for more than 10 years. Where the people end up, Amanda stood up, and I just didn't do the math right. I didn't stood up. Basically, he's saying like at our age, because you might be able to coast through because we have enough people that have done business with us. But he's like, you're the ones that are going to be in danger. And if you're newer in the business, you probably just don't have a choice.
We're the middle that's most at risk because we feel complacent. And we feel like we've earned the trust when we have the repeat referrals and that we can coast. And he goes, you're the most vulnerable because you're not believing. And he's like, you better believe me if you want to stay in it for another 15 years. Melissa?
Does somebody?
Oh, Jack. Yes, I just looked at your hand. You had something?
Oh, yeah. One of the speakers said we stop our service too early.
Yeah.
They're like, you need to carry everything through. So he equated it to when the server bring you the check. If they just stop the service after that, you kind of forget about your experience, the food, and you don't really bring anything from that. But if you carry that forward into the real estate world, it's like after the closing table, service hasn't ended. It's really just beginning. And then from there, you'll get a lot more clients and build really good role that way.
Love that. And good for you for getting down. Yeah, awesome.
So I was a huge fan of Giselle Ugardi, and she was probably the lowest paid keynote speaker that they had there. And I don't know if you guys saw on her social media, but her teleprompter went out when she came out on stage, so she did all that by memorization. And I thought, wow, how incredible! But with all the talk around the social media and the AI, her whole message was about being human and making sure that the people on the other side of us felt human. And I know so many of us will go into our AI platforms and copy paste, and people can see that, right? I mean, even if you train your bot to talk like you, they still can tell it. And I will, just side note, I will say if you're using ChatGPT to do some research on that, there were some big changes that happened this week, and Claude is even better. So know where your money and your subscriptions are going and be diligent in that. And we switched over to Claude yesterday and hugely impressed by that.
Nice. All right. I think whatever the platform you choose to use, do it, but use one. And then I want to double down on what Lad said. you know, Gary Vee and other speakers did say you can make one piece of content and post them across 7. It's not the highest and best, but don't feel like you have to make 7 different pieces of content. That's when you really start to get overwhelmed. You know, a long form video can be shortened into a video. So you don't have to be in a studio all the time doing this. You have to sell real estate. But I think a lot of you forget to document your days and document what you're doing. You know, you really should be doing that. This is the day-to-day life that is so easy. Troy?
So I'll just show myself out here as somebody who's never posted about real estate, ever. I was an open house. It took me like 45 minutes, but I figured out how to post on like 5 different things. Like 1,500 views for an open house.
That's awesome.
I didn't edit it at all. I just reposted it.
Good job.
Good for you. Good for you. I think that's the thing. Take action.
This is
Yeah. Perfection is never going to be accomplished, you guys. And so to be, you know, in paralysis is not serving you. There's a book out there called Trust Signals, and he was a speaker last year, and I'm gonna guess it's gonna look different for you this time than the first time you read it. I would really encourage you to go back and read it, because it's the signals that the AI is looking for of why it should trust and recommend you as a real estate agent. He asked in the room, how many of you use AI today instead of Google? Everybody's hand went up. Everybody's hand. That's where the consumer is going. Can you recommend an agent to sell my house in Landfall? So if you're not out there being very specific on social media, it doesn't even know you sell in Landfall, because we're not putting that out there for the algorithms of scrub it. We're going to go into the vision speech after this, but I do want to announce this part. Madison's not here to go into depth on it, but I want you to be excited about this, because in all of my years at Keller Williams, we have tried to build and own all of the technology, and that's been fantastic to date. But because of that, we've not been able to stack on third-party tech that we want or we desire to have until now. The partnership with Stone Point is opening the doors and opening up Command to now bring in these subscriptions. So this is the first of several subscriptions that you're going to see coming your way as a part of Command. And so we already have the social media subscriptions. We have Facebook. This one we have looked into as a brokerage and providing it, and it was so astronomical that we're like, we can't afford that right now. But Rejig is so cool, because what it'll do is it'll say, Charity, what do you like? What do you read? What are your interests? What are your favorite colors? Blah, 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 blah. And then it's going to go out and it's going to make all the content for Charity's week. Charity's going to approve it and it posts it. And it's done. And that's called Rejig, and that's coming for us. And so Lone Wolf is the one of the country's best transaction management systems. That is now going to be integrated, so you don't have to keep going outside and going to DocuSign. DocuSign will sunset in June. Until then, you're going to get a lot of training before now and then, but Lone Wolf is going to be integrated, and it's sharp. People who use Lone Wolf, there were agents cheering in Shannon's breakout because of what Lone Wolf's going to do for you guys and the ease of doing business it's going to provide. Canva is already here. Cotality, that is one that goes out and scrubs your missing data on your behalf. So I have Jose the painter at 910-999-2000, but I don't have his email. I don't have anything. It can go out and go, oh, I think I found the complete information. Is this your guy? And I go, yep, that's him. And I can click it, and it's going to fill in the blanks of my data. It's going to have a quarterly scrub. So every time you add somebody new to your phone, you don't add complete information. It'll go, oops, we found more information on this. Have you noticed iPhone? I texted Derek Seifel today, it's his birthday, and my iPhone goes, would you like me to add his birthday to your contacts? And I'm like, yep, update. That's what this is going to be like. So it's going to have all this data and go, is this your guy? And it's similar like what Forewarn would be, but it's a third party. Constant contacts, like an email subscription. BrokerBot's going to be amazing. We'll load our company's policies and guidelines and commission rules and everything in it. And you can go to BrokerBot and go, hey, what's the policy on ... And it'll spit it right back out to you. So that's coming for us. Gemini is already here. Cloud CMA, Fellow, those are two really big ones. So those are all going to be integrated. So what we were supposed to have at the OP partner meeting, a kind of a timeline on these. And then someone actually had a medical emergency and ended lunch early. And so we could not get the timeline. So Lad and I have a Monday meeting with KWRI, and then we'll see what the timeline is on some of these. But I wanted you to see it and know what's coming. And this is your partnership, and I'm pumped because it used to be they wanted to build their own rejig and we had to wait. Now you get it and you don't have to wait because it's already done and done for you. So I want to go into the vision speech, Jeff. I'm going to trade you seats while Lad comes up. So this is what Lad used to call the snooze fest of his years as a real estate agent. And then he started to understand how important data is. And we started to pay attention. And him and I were sitting next to each other, and he took really good notes. And I'm like, there's no reason for the both of us to sit here and type 100 miles an hour. So he's going to run it. I wanted to start first with the home sales. So what do you see on here, Lad, that's worth mentioning?
How much time do we have?
I mean, yeah.
So we did this last year. There's way too much, and there's so much good stuff. So if we want to, we can carve out time and do like an hour on another time. But we'll hit highlights today. So this is Gary started out. And he said, "Why do we do this?" For two reasons. Number one is you got to understand the market as a real estate agent. This is our business, is what we do. So if we were doctors, we would have to understand our craft. You're not sure you have to know how to do that. The market is it's really what we have to understand. And the second big reason is we have to consult our client. We have to consult our clients. The client understands that two things. The client needs to understand the market themselves because ultimately it's their call. The price that they offer on or the price that they list their property at. And then they have to trust that you know what you're talking about. So this is why this stuff is so important. Consumer confidence is low. You'll see if we probably won't get that far. Consumer confidence is low. It says low now. It's at a very low. And one of the last times it's been that low was the Vietnam War. And it's really things aren't that bad. The problem is our clients don't understand that things aren't that bad. And so take it back to the social media what is the way that we could help our clients understand that things are really good? Because and this is a quote that Gary says all the time, and we should say it all the time. There is never a bad time to buy the right piece of real estate. There just isn't. And we'll go through and show you the data on that. But Gary said, we believe that if the consumers actually understood what we understood, consumer confidence would be a lot higher, and we actually collectively can impact that. There was something I saw on national news the other day talking about Robert Kiyosaki, who I love, Rich Dad Poor Dad. But Robert Kiyosaki is a radicalized lunatic these days, but I still love the Rich Dad Poor Dad concepts. He's a little out there. He's putting all this stuff out there about how bad the market is and how bad real estate is and how it's this huge buyer's market. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You can find a couple niches that are buyer's markets in some places, but we still are very, very light on inventory.
Hopefully I don't derail you much, but I want you to see that 3 years in a row is 4.1. And they think that this is probably the floor based on our population count where we are in the US, that this is the bottom. So the good news is we've hit it, we survived it. And some of them thrived in it. This is the first one.
If you go back to the 90s, there's never been really 3 years in a row. If you go look at anything, 3 or 4 years here, and then what does it do? It goes up. You go back here, 3 or 4 years, it flattens up and it goes up. So what Amanda's saying and what he said is this appears to be our floor. Now we can't predict, we don't have a crystal ball, but your clients should probably understand this. If they don't have confidence in the market, look at this. Now this is national, right? But locally, ours kind of look like this. They've been flat, right?
Yeah. But the good news is it's 4.3 projected in 2026. So he's going, hang on, we're about to turn this corner where you're going to see sales start to take a jump. Here was the home sales monthly, seasonally, and adjusted. You think you want to say on this one as I roll through?
The main thing that he said on the other one, he said, listen, they don't know exactly why. They've been predicting Q3 or Q4 2026 for the last 3 years is when they thought we would go up. They're just doing that based on historic data, and they believe that that's what's going to happen. They think things are going to stay the same until something will happen in Q3 or Q4, and they don't really understand. Now, that's all
January, I do remember why this one. This was a low month because you had some really bad weather across 50 of the states. And so they said nationally just added up to a rotten month.
Yes.
Now, some of you were fine, but others were not. So, yeah.
Go to the second one, home prices. So this is a really big one. At the end of this, he just said, I don't understand how you could be a professional and not use this slide. who was on that thing? My buddy Laura came on and did a thing on Wealth Wednesday 3 weeks ago. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Do you remember that he used this slide?
Yeah.
And basically this slide basically says home prices go up. Period. Full stop. That's what they do. Biggest real estate recession in history. Prices went down. If you had bought a house at the very peak of the market, if you waited 7 or 10 years, your house is back. So it's like real estate's like the stock market. You only lose money if you sell. If you buy real estate, it's going to go up over time. So I will go over some of these because these are some good ones. You said, look, you had asked a question, ask why over history do prices go up or down? They just go up. In 1990, did people think that was exceptionally expensive? And of course they did, right? But look where it is now. Look, the average home price was $96,000 and $222,000. It felt expensive at all these times. We feel like it's really expensive here, but look, if you look at this trend line, we're really only 7.4% above the trend line. What they're expecting is modest gains nationally for 2 years. So if we were to keep nationally with modest gains, we'll be right on that trend line. So houses are not really that expensive, but people think that they are. So this is a great one for clients.
And this is really good, I mean, because what he said was, did you think homes were expensive in 90? They're like, yeah, well, it's 96,000. Now look at 06, 21% above the trend line. It jumped all the way to 2022. I was 2 years in the business there, average sale price 222. People thought that was expensive again, and then watch what's just literally continuing to happen. So when you get people so caught up on rates, it's like you just watch what's happening for appreciation, right?
So if 2% is there, go back down a little bit. So if like 2% or 3% is what they're looking at for like the national trend, or 4%, like that's average. Is our market average, or is our market above average?
Above.
And why is our market above average?
Where we live.
It's because where we live is we live on the coast and people are migrating to this area. So he said, 4% doesn't sound like much, and keep in mind we'll get more than that. But 4%, if you compound it over 10 to 15 years, property values are gonna double every 10 to 15 years. So like I've got friends and people and family members that are like, we've had people move here, we're like, I'm gonna wait a few years. Okay, you can wait a few years, but the house that you want now is gonna be 12 to 15% more expensive at a minimum. So it seems expensive now. Give yourself a decade and it'll be cheap. You can go to total market value. Total market value volume slide. He said, look, if you think things have been hard, if you look at the home sales thing, we've been down to 4.1 million home sales nationally. The last time that we had that few homes sell, it was under 4 million, was 1995. So it's like 30 years ago. That's why things seem tough. But if you look at this, we don't get paid on transaction units. We get paid on transaction volume. Last year was the third highest in history of sales volumes. So the real estate industry is making good money. There are agents, some of you in this room are having your best years ever. There is plenty of commission income to fund our businesses and our lives. The challenge is you got more people going to get it. But thankfully, even though units are down, average sale price and total market volume is up. So there is still a massive opportunity out there. And if this is the only slide we showed you guys, we'd be like, man, this is really exciting. So this is the one to keep in mind. It's out there. There's plenty out there for us.
Trillions, by the way. And you can see it here, 1, 2, 3, and then 2.25. So you're getting the third best year last year, and they're projecting up in 2026.
And not to be preachy, but Gary's end statement on this was, if you feel like you've been working hard, you have to. Economic opportunity is huge. More agents chasing limited transactions. But he said it's a story of two people, those who lead generate and those who don't. If you don't wake up every day in service of your goals, building relationships, making contacts for 2 to 3 hours in whatever way you choose, he said you will be exposed. We're not saying cold calling. You don't have to cold call. You could be the guy. There was a guy there, really amazing guy that did a pickleball thing. You guys, his business is he plays pickleball all the time and meets people, and he does a ton of business. He literally had a pickleball thing set up in the convention center. And that's his lead gen. So whatever you do, that's what we got to do because the money's out there. All right.
We're showing on inventory. I think this is why you've seen it be, more in a seller's market versus a buyer's market.
This is what Robert Kiyosaki puts that ignorant. And I know Robert Kiyosaki's probably not on friggin' Twitter or whatever. It's probably somebody in staff putting it out there. But listen, The reason they're saying that is because they're looking at 2021, we had 2.2 months of inventory. So supply and demand, basic economic principle, they've said this line here is 6 months. There's been a thing in the real estate industry that 6 months is a balanced market, means it's right between a buyer's and a seller's market. The truth is, it's local and it matters. There's Oak Island, 600,000 to 800,000. Trust me, it's more than 6 months because I have a house that I want to sell down there. And it's more than that. And I wish it wasn't, but that's the truth. But when you've got it balanced there, look back in 07, 08, it went up to 10 months and we were telling people that they would have to sign a listing agreement with us for at least 12 to 18 months or we weren't going to take their listing. We then got to 2021 and it was like, you could sell your house in a day if you list with me. I don't even need to do anything. People are looking at that and they're going, oh my gosh, well, it's still 4.2. So like we went from absurdity, like this is still really, really low. And people just don't understand, like this is still a seller's market. Now, is 6 months still going to be the rule going forward? Who knows? But people, it's just, this is about perspective. And the reason you go back here is to give ourselves and give our clients perspective, because if we are just looking in this narrow little window, right?
And if you're not getting on market of the moment, you gotta get on market of the moment, because we're talking about stuff like this and you can speak educationally to it. Mortgage rates, I mean, you just heard Matt say, we're at a 3-year low, boom, here it is.
So look at, just don't even look at the graph.
Yeah.
Look where rates were, look how high rates have been, and we're right here. So the people that are saying rates are really high, they literally have no perspective. Again, they're just looking here going, oh my gosh, I could have got a 2.875. Look, I got one of those. I'm glad I got one. We'll never get one again. And your clients will never get one again. We hope we'll never get one again because it'll be another pandemic or World War III or something. So like basically 6% is a good rate. It's always a good time to buy the right piece of real estate. We've got to help our clients understand this. Rates are good. And we do think rates will be getting better. The good news is you can always refinance your rate down and lock the property in. And you can always refinance down, but waiting, hoping rates go down, it's not a smart move.
This to me is one of the more slides to be like dancing about, because I think so many of us have lied to ourselves and we think that people aren't moving because they're in one of those 3% rates, and it's not true. 48.5% of mortgages are now at a rate higher than 4%. So there are people out there, if you can see by this graph, that are going to make a move regardless of the rates. And I tell you guys all the time, I was one of them. So don't disqualify people just because they're sitting on a lower rate. Lifestyles happen. And there's the 6 D's of a reason a person makes a move. It's divorce, it's diamonds, it's diapers, it's dividends, it's downsize and debt. And so that's going to happen every day. And you're going to have people that you can help serve regardless of rate. So you don't want to get this stuck in your head.
His other takeaway on this is you got a third of the market that it's just going to be a push. They're at about a 6% rate right now. There's a third of them out there that are just going to get about the same rate they've got now.
That's right. Affordability, this was an interesting conversation too.
The same thing with affordability is if you go back to 1981, it was 49%. So if you think it was affordability is basically like what percent of your household income would you need to spend on your house? We have this perspective. Our clients have this perspective that houses are really, really expensive now, mainly because of rates. Well, look, it's like 32%, and it's not really
historical average is 27.
Yeah, so we're a little bit above that, but if you go back, like it was really expensive then, and people were still buying and selling houses when interest rates were 18%. So again, it's just really perspective. We've got a decade of consumers who got used to paying far, far below. But if you look, this is not typical. It's just something that happened in the economic climate we were at, and the market's changing, right?
I just think it's important for you to notice that historically it's 27, and yet prices have gone up and rates have gone up. But what else went up? Wages. More people are working in the home. So income has gone up. And so when people are like, well, it's expensive. Well, is it? Because it's 32% right now. So this is where your job is perspective, is to provide that. These are the social media reels you need to be putting up.
So in the interest of time, Skip.
We're not going to do Canada.
I know, sorry.
Rachel.
Because we lost our hockey game.
Skip to the wealth. So unemployment is going up, and that's not a bad thing for rates. It's doing what it's supposed to be. Historically low unemployment. Skip to wealth and income, which is number 4.
Alright.
So this will probably be the last thing we'll do just from a time standpoint, but if you look at income growth by level, go down to the next one. If you look at these slides, basically the takeaway with this is, go down one more, it's the one with the table. Yeah,
Okay.
this is an inflation.
This is really cool.
So they said age 30 balance sheet. So what are people's net worth by age 30? And you had baby boomers that was 147, with an average debt of 53, and mortgage debt, their average net worth. This is their total assets, and this is their average net worth. Gen X 214, millennials 219. So there's this whole thought that millennials and Gen Xers or like maybe or millennials are behind. They're actually okay with assets. Their debt is a little bit higher, but there's this feeling out there, this fiction that they're way behind. But if you look at it, they're actually better. They're better off. So the question is, why are they waiting so long to buy their first home at age 40? Now, someone's come back and said that age 40 first-time home buyer, there was a flaw in that survey, but we know the age of a first-time home buyer has gone up significantly. I know my story. When I was like right out of school, my parents were like, buy a house, buy a house, buy a house. And a lot of you, that's what you had. And then I woke up a few years later and said, man, the house that I bought at 150 is now worth 180, and I sold that. I rolled it into an investment business. So like really helping people consult, like you need to buy a house from a wealth standpoint. And if you keep going one more, and probably the last thing we'll cover is
Consumer sentiment.
No, I think we're good on that. The other stuff. Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah. Okay. That's a lot to unpack. We can go through it in more detail.
If you look at the slides, all of them have been loaded into the agent resource folder. So you guys have all of this and access to everything. But I think it's your responsibility to really understand.
Go down 3 or 4 slides.
Which
just at the last. Go. I'm sorry. Go up.
Do you know what?
Keep going. One more.
Oh, I did like that one.
The world's wealthy, I think. Oh yeah, this is. No,
I like this one.
Right there. The biggest thing that we got from that was they looked at luxury homeowners and the wealthy and where they are. They have at least 20% of their net worth in real estate. Those who because real estate is appreciating quickly, like the gap between the haves and the have-nots, and people are saying, hey, the rich are getting richer. Part of it is the rich and the wealthy, and I'm not using those words because they use them in the survey, they own a disproportionate amount of the real estate. So when real estate is going up and it's appreciating, that is what's making the rich get richer. So we have to help people in our communities, first-time home buyers and other people, and people who maybe have not owned homes historically. People think that buying homes are out of reach, and we know they're not. We know there's USDA, we know there's FHA, we know there's the Home Affordable Program. We know of things that we can help people buy homes. They don't understand, and they may hear some idiot say on Facebook, well, renting is better because it's cheaper than owning a home. Well, it is, but 10 to 15 years down the road, you're still renting. Meanwhile, the other person bought a house that's doubled in value, and that's what they're missing out. So, like, we've got to help people get in the game to own a home, or else the wealth gap is just going to continue to increase.
Yeah, they thought it was funny to see that in the month of December, days on market for luxury dropped. They had a hard time coming up with an explanation around that. There is some industry news in here with first-time home buyers. This was, and then primary reason for purchasing a home. If I were you, I would use this, and this would be integrated into my buyer agency consultation.
That's your marketing.
Yeah, this is your marketing. These are your keywords. They surveyed customers and said, why are you going it? Well, desire to own, So I would be building this in. How many weeks they're in a home search? What's the first step home buying process? Everybody's still beginning online. Then what? So, and then information that they're using, where the buyers found the home that they purchased, website features that were important. This was funny, and I would agree with them on this. Video actually was just below property photos, and Jay was like, here's why. The video goes at whatever speed, photos I can flip through at mine. So you still need photos as much as you need video in this. And then method of home purchase, what buyers want from their agent. Look at this. If this isn't in your consultation, if this isn't on your social media, they're telling you what they want. So advertise this is who they are, how they found you, how many they're interviewing, and then buyer repeat referrals. They're still using agents if you stay in touch with them. I mean, look at this. So you're and then here's the seller data. They're giving you everything that the seller wanted. So that was the vision speech. Pretty incredible. We went through it. Again, you guys have access to it. I haven't done this yet.
You can watch the vision speech by Gary too,
Yeah.
and it's more powerful. I would totally watch him. If anything I said sounded smart, because I was taking notes from him for me. But it really is worth watching that. It's about an hour and a half, and watch it with the.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think from like a marketing standpoint, is how you present this stuff, like, I think we all know, like, the consumer thinks that everything's terrible right now, the world's terrible and awesome. But like the way y'all presented it, it's in such a positive light.
That's right.
And I think that presenting things to your, you know,
Consumer.
consumer in a positive way can really change the way that they see the market. And I think that, like, just y'all presenting kind of like, wow, this is so refreshing. And so like, I think that, you know, just how we present things.
That's right. Well, the person who talks the loudest wins, and they're listening to CNN or Fox or whatever their outlet of choice is. And so you need to be the outlet, and you have to be consistently enough that they start to believe you. We're gonna put a pin on all of this as soon as I get through a few slides, so don't leave yet. We still have a drawing to do. AI, we're talking about it all the time, but our regional tech trainer, Sydney Seymour, is gonna be in Wilmington live for a Prompt Like a Pro class. It's completely free, but mark your calendar. You'll get a sign up in the newsletter. It's only going to be 90 minutes long. It'll be here at the office on April 29th. We have also secured some pretty big names. We have Sarah Reynolds coming to Wilmington in the month of April. She is the #1 agent and female agent in all of Keller Williams and KWRI, and she it has a team in about 3 different states. And so, but she's not going to be this person that's out of your league at all. This is a person who's probably lost about 200 pounds from a conversation with Gary Keller that says, if you don't start to take care of your body, where else are you going to live? And it just hit her like a ton of bricks. And she decided to start put her health first. She runs the podcast, Her Best Life. And you can find it on the podcast outlet. James Shaw, who doesn't know who he is? If you don't, it's because you're new to real estate. If you're not a member of the Pivot Shift Ahead Facebook community, he leads one of the largest real estate Facebook communities on the planet. We're going to host him down in Myrtle Beach. We got Jordan Freed in the 4th quarter. Our next one coming up is Jake Lors, and I should have had a flyer here, so we'll get to that, which is on March 17th here from 9 to noon. Paint the Coast Red. I'm pretty excited about the start of this. This is the first time we've rolled it out. We had some really great participation and some who didn't understand that even if they didn't buy a sign, they could still play. So we're building a landing page for this. We're going to be promoting it. It's going to be going live this weekend. Crazy enough, we're able to match everybody with a home who had a desire to host and anybody who had a desire to have their listing hosted. So we're excited. The signs were supposed to be here Friday. So they should be creeping into our front door anytime. And so the signs are in, we're gonna get them distributed. Are you good with no big update? Do you have anything?
We're good.
Okay. The Lead Yourself First, Tuesday, March 17th from 9 to noon. There's no sales meeting that day. This is that. So we're gonna have Jake Lors doing the Lead Yourself First that day. It's totally free. We got green mimosas. We got no green eggs in hand, but we'll have brunch, we'll have food, and we'll have Jake's presentation. At noon that day, we're going to be celebrating Jody, who is so wrong for bringing a puppy into this meeting before I can play with him. Hold him up. So her newest puppy is here, but Jody, he's heavy, isn't he? His name is Louie. It's a silver lab, and he's in the back there. And we're going to celebrate Jody as moving into our big emeritus. Look at that. Oh, everybody. A big emeritus status. And we're going to have a party for Jody on the 17th that day at noon. So be on the lookout for invitations. And then big news. It's such perfect timing on the heels of Social Media Con. We've gone into partnership here in our office with Hindi Street Productions. They are building a in-house studio for Keller Williams. So we're going to have podcast room, video, training, support. They've got AI app and integration. They're going to have access to the studio for free. They're going to be training on the monthly calendar. The very first training for this is your studio orientation, where you're going to get to meet the founders and partners of the KW studio is on March 19th from 11 to 12. So if you wanna know what it's about, what the heck's the studio, what does that mean for me? Come in and be a part of that class. It's 1 hour long. You'll get to meet the guys. But is anybody excited about that? Yeah, it's a big deal because if you're like me, I can record the video and then I'm like, now what? And so I need to know the tips and the tricks and how to make these things go and grow. He has been working elbow to elbow with Gary Keller on content that converts. I see a lot of realtors who are being influencers, but they're not getting leads and they're not closing real estate transactions from their content. So what is the content that converts into business? And that's what these two are most passionate about. And that's what he's going to teach you. So don't think this is another social media event, because it's not. This is the start of the studio and the kickoff for that. March, we got a lot of really good things going on. The big one coming up is the 90-day reset. So we're heading into the second quarter. I want to tell you something. 90% correlation to you hitting your first quarter goal to hitting your year-end goal. There's a 90% correlation. If you're off track, you have some decisions to make. Can you catch up in the month of March? Yes or no?
Yes.
Are you ahead in the month of March? Maybe. Are you behind in the month of March? Maybe. But you still have time to get on track in the month of March to put you on track for your annual goals. The quarter is not over. Get clear on what are your priorities and eliminate the noise. Don't do anything else outside of getting back on track. The reset is going to be a reflection of your first 90 days. And then what are your priorities for the next 90 days? Recommitting. Some of you might need to make adjustments. I don't know, but this is what we're going to talk about, the 90-day reset. So be there for that. We're going to go back to ALC overview. Oh, the next KW Young Professional, she didn't get the flyer on here, but anybody know how many closings Carly had from agent referrals? 103 closings have come directly from agent referrals, and she is going to be the guest speaker of the KWYP event next month. All right, we're going to do a drawing. Shannon, the spreadsheet ready? All right, here we go. This is so fun. So this is 3 threes. Copy and paste. Did you get me on there? Hey, control me. All right. Hopefully everybody on the screen can see the wheel, and we're going to spin. This person, any of these offices, whoever picks it, gets to come up and pull a card. Oh, Debbie in Oak Island. I see you clapping. All right, Debbie. Oh, she's going, let's pin her up there. Okay, Debbie, let's see. Do you have the cards? Where are you? And oh, she's gonna unmute. Oh, she's got it in front of her. I can see it. I can't. Why is that not fitting? I know.
It's here, you.
All right.
Where
is that?
Top left, there you go.
Always left there.
She won the chili cook-off too.
And then-
You're a lucky girl. There we go. Let's go. All right, Debbie, congratulations and way to go. How much was that, Shannon? 200, we added it up. Now we have, all right, it was a 4 spade, Debbie. Congratulations. So now we're at $435 net on the 17th. We're gonna do it again. Everybody else, Chick-fil-A is here. Thanks for being here, and let's go play with the puppy. Have a good day, everybody. Oh, congrats, Debbie.
Too.